The black sands of Iwo Jima stand as one of the most haunting landscapes of the Second World War here. In February 1945, men clashed in a struggle so ferocious that it would come to symbolize both the relentless will of the United States to advance and the grim determination of Imperial Japan to resist until the last breath. The price was staggering, the victory Pyrrhic, and its memory etched forever in stone. Steel and blood. For the United States, Iwo Jima was not just another island. It was a fortress, a volcanic dagger thrust deep into the Pacific. Lying only 750 miles from Tokyo, on its tiny, sulfur-stained expanse, the Japanese had carved an underground labyrinth of tunnels, bunkers, and artillery positions. For Japan, this was sacred ground, every inch to be defended with fanatical resolve. For America, it was a vital stepping stone, an airbase for bombers and a refuge for crippled planes. Returning from missions over the Japanese mainland by early 1945, the tide of war had turned against Japan. The once proud empire stretched thin, its fleet shattered, its skies dominated by American aircraft. Yet on Iwo Jima, General Tadamichi Kuribayashi had forged a defense unlike any other. He knew he could not win, but he sought to bleed the Americans so badly that they would question the cost of invading Japan itself. He ordered his men, "You will kill 10 of the enemy before you die." This was not just a battle, it was to be a sacrifice. On February 19th, 1945, the first waves of US Marines stormed ashore. They expected fierce resistance on the beaches, but instead they found silence, too much silence. The volcanic ash sucked at their boots, slowing every step. Then the mountains roared. Hidden guns and mortar opened fire from fortified caves and tunnels, cutting down Marines by the dozens. The landing zone became a killing field. The black sands stained red. The fighting was unlike anything the Marines had encountered before. There were no front lines. Every ridge, every cave concealed death. Japanese soldiers would vanish into tunnels, only to reappear behind American units. The air was choked with smoke, dust, and the thunder of naval guns pounding the island day and night. Even the ground seemed alive, quivering from the ceaseless bombardment. Still, the Japanese endured, striking from beneath the earth like phantoms. At the southern end of the island loomed Mount Suribachi, its slopes bristling with concealed defenses. For days, Marines clawed their way up its volcanic ridges under constant fire. On February 23rd, a small group reached the summit. They raised the American flag, and a photographer captured the moment. Joe Rosenthal's image of Marines planting the flag became one of the most iconic photographs in history, an instant symbol of courage and sacrifice. Yet beneath the triumph, the battle was far from over. The mountain was taken, but the island still burned with fury. Kuribayashi's men did not surrender. They fought from caves, from bunkers, from beneath the very soil. They launched night raids, suicide charges, and ambushes that cost the Marines dearly. Flamethrowers and grenades became the tools of survival. As Marines burned the Japanese from their hideouts, cave by cave, inch by inch. The fighting was intimate, brutal, and unrelenting. As one Marine later recalled, Iwo was a nightmare in hell's own image. The toll mounted. Over 70,000 Marines fought on Iwo Jima, and nearly 7,000 never returned. More than 19,000 were wounded. The Japanese garrison of about 21,000 men fought almost to the last stone. A few hundred were taken alive. General Kuribayashi himself refused to surrender, reportedly leading a final bonsai charge before meeting his death. His body was never found. When the island was finally declared secure after 5 weeks of slaughter, America had won a strategic prize. The airfields of Iwo Jima soon became lifelines for bombers, saving the lives of thousands of airmen forced to land with damaged planes. But the question lingered: was the cost worth it? Some historians argue the island could have been bypassed, its defenders starved into submission. Others point to the thousands of American planes and crews saved by its runways as justification. The debate endures, as bitter and unresolved as the battle itself. For the Japanese people, Iwo Jima was a prelude to what awaited them if America invaded the homeland. The ferocity of the defense impressed us leaders, but it also filled them with dread. If 20,000 men on one tiny island could inflict such losses, what would millions do on the shores of Japan? In the ashes of Iwo Jima lay the seeds of a fateful decision: the use of atomic weapons to end the war without invasion. The legacy of Iwo Jima lives on in memorials, in stories passed from veterans to generations that followed, and in the solemn ground itself, where the bones of the fallen still lie beneath the black sand. The U.S. Marine Corps considers it sacred soil, a place where valor reached its highest measure. As Admiral Chester Nimitz declared, among the Americans who served on Iwo Island, uncommon valor was a common virtue. Today, the flag raising on Mount Suribachi endures as a symbol, but it tells only part of the story. Behind the photograph lies the terrible cost of victory, cost paid in youth and blood, in courage and suffering. To remember Iwo Jima is to remember not just triumph, but sacrifice. It is to stand on black volcanic ash and feel the weight of history pressing down, whispering the names of the fallen. This episode was crafted to bring you closer to that moment in history, to honor the voices of those who lived it, and to keep their memory alive. If you value this kind of storytelling history told with depth, respect, and humanity, consider supporting the effort to preserve it. For in remembering the terrible cost of victory, we remember why peace matters.